Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on our next practice sheet, which is Dihyrbid Crosses I. And you printed it off. You'll need a piece of notebook paper to solve all the questions. It just gives you the information. One thing I did move up to the top that's at the bottom of your sheet is this bit of information that's going to help you. Sometimes they will leave off any description words for the second trait. If that's the case, then whatever term like homozygous, heterozygous, pure, or hybrid, if it's in front of the second trait and you do not have a description for the second, then that description term applies for both. So keep that in mind as you're working through these. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me move this down a little bit. Okay, so like before, we're going to do our symbols, parents, in this case gametes, since it's a dihybrid, our Punnett square, and then answer any questions that it may need. So, and I'm going to be switching colors just to help you on the first problem, but I'm only going to do it on the first. Okay, so we need to figure out our symbols, or our key. So we have dihybrid, for we have black fur and white fur, and we have curly tails and straight tails. So it tells me, it gives me the symbols it wants to use. So we've got fur color, so we've got, let me get my pen to work here. Okay, so we've got black, and we have white, and black is dominant, so it's a capital B, and white is recessive. And then our tail, we have curly, and we have straight. And curly is dominant, so a capital T, and straight is a lowercase t. Now for our parents, remember we're going to, for each trait, we're going to keep the letters together and we'll just sit them side by side and be consistent. So I'm going to put just left to right, fur color, and then tail. And I'll do that for both parents. So when a pure black pig with a straight tail is crossed, so that's my cross. So pure black tail, so pure means both letter, so I'm going to have a big B, and a straight tail. Well, the only way it can be straight is it has to be pure, so two lowercase t's. So I really didn't need to use pure as a description, I just know that's the only way that it can be seen as straight. Crossed, homozygous white pig. So I really didn't need the word homozygous because the only way it can be white is to be homozygous recessive. So two little b's, you notice I've got my b's first, B first. And then a curly tail. Well, curly could be homozygous dominant. It could be heterozygous. But there's that description, I'm using the word homozygous for both traits. So in this case, it's going to be big T, big T. Now you'll notice if I didn't do that, it would completely change everything. So let me go ahead and change my pen color here, because I'm going to write my gametes. So remember on the gametes, I'm going to take the first third, so big B, little t, and my professor always had us circle it, but it's up to you. I'll just circle the first. And they're all going to be the same, so big B, so first, last, second, third, second, last. Okay, and then let me change my ink. Crossed with, okay, and notice I'm going to have my B's first, even though it's the lowercase letters first. We'll recombine these later. So it's going to be the same for all four of these. So little b, big T, and they're just all going to be the same. Now, these are very basic problems. Okay, so don't be confused or tricked by this. So let me go ahead and move this down just a little bit until I get my gametes written. Okay, so I'm going to take, and since I've already got the blue ink, I'm going to take these and put them on the side. Okay, so I've got, they're all the same. Okay, let me change my color here and go to red. Okay, and I'm going to take these four and put them on top, just as they are written. Okay, now we're going to recombine these, and I'm just going to do the first one because I'm going to be switching ink color here. Okay, so I'm in the red, so I'm going to do my B's first. So I'm going to move this B down. Okay, you need to be patient with me here so I can switch back and forth so you can see where these gametes come from. Move this B across. Okay, and then my T's I'm going to put back together, but I'm going to put capital letter first, so big T. And let me go back to my red and my little t. Okay, now since these are all the same and these are all the same, then I could just draw my lines going across. I could also just fill it all in if I want to, take the time to do that, but I think it's easier this way. But just remember, you have 16 offspring, so make sure you count them all. So the question is, what will the offspring look like? So that's my phenotype, and it doesn't ask for ratios, it just wants to know what will they look like and how many will look like that. So I need to use my key here first. So I've got my, remember I look at the first letter of each trait, and that's why I recombined it, because these are two separate traits right here. So my big B is black, and my big T is curly. So all my pigs, and then I've got 16, all 16 will have black fur with, I run out of room here, curly tails. If it did ask for a ratio, then it would be 16:0. Okay? So I could also, let me extend the page here, I could also put 16 to give more description, heterozygous black, heterozygous curly. And you'll be asked to do that on homework or the exam. Okay, so let's go to the second question, and in this case I'm not going to switch colors. Okay, so chickens now. So I have chickens, rose comb, single comb, that's the little thing on top of their head. Rose is dominant to single, so it says for comb color use the R, so I've got rose. I think I will switch color at least to right in. Okay, so I've got rose and I've got single. Rose is dominant. And then I've got the color of the chicken, I've got black, and I've got white. And black is dominant to white. And then my parent, gene for, let's see, cross a homozygous rose, black, rooster. The gender does not matter in this case, just an extra word to kind of throw you off. So since it's homozygous, I've got rose and black. And then it tells me it's going to be crossed with a homozygous single white. So single white. In this case, all the gametes are the same again. Just happens to be my initials, haha. Okay, and these are all the same. Okay, let me move this down. Now, you notice in the question, it doesn't ask me any questions, so I don't need to answer anything. I just need to fill out the Punnett square. Okay, so sometimes in the past students have gotten into a competition to see how fast they can fill these in. If you do that, just make sure you don't make any mistakes. Okay, so let's reform the traits together. So big R, big B, little b, and just like before, they're going to be the same. And if I was to be asked, then I would know that if I go back to my symbols, all 16 would be rose and black chickens. Okay, and then problem 3. Now I made these really simple for a reason, so you can practice with the gametes and filling out the square. So that's why they are very simple. Okay, so now we have fruit flies, and red is dominant to white, so eye color is going to be red, and I've got white, and so red, white, and then my length of my wings, I've got long, dominant over short, and so it tells me use the letter T. I can use any letter. I will designate the letter to use, it just makes it easier for me to grade. I usually do try to stay away from letters, I think I've said this before, like C's, and if you do use that, maybe underline it, or S's. That's kind of hard to tell. Okay, so now my parents, but it asks me the question first. So the geno and phenotypic ratios for a cross between white-eyed male, and again it gives me the sex, I don't really need that information. So white-eyed male, so the eyes white, the only way it can be white is 2 little r's. Long wings, so it could be big T or big T little t, but it tells me that it carries a recessive gene. That's just a way of telling me it's heterozygous. So I've got my big T little t, just worded a little bit different. And then it's going to be crossed with a homozygous red female, so 2 big R's, and with short wings. The only way it can be short are 2 little t's. Okay, so let's go ahead and make my gametes. Now this is a little more different. The first one is, so I've got first, third, so big R, little r, big T. My second is first and last, second, third, second, last. I'm just using that FOIL method. And then these are all going to be the same. Okay, and then again, let me just read the question. It wants the geno and phenotypic ratios. Okay, so let me go ahead and put my first parent here. Make sure I get these written down. And it doesn't matter the order you put these in, because everything works out the same. I would write at least the gametes out. If they're the same, the offspring, you can just draw lines. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to recombine. So put my R's together, dominant first, makes it easier to find that phenotype, and then my T's. And you notice these are all the same, so I can draw my line down for that. And then big R, little t, and these are all the same. And then big R, big T, little t, and these are the same. And then my last one, going down. Okay, so based on that information, and I'm going to cover up that top one. Okay, so the genotypic ratio, so I'm going to write out my genotypes. So I'm going to take my first one, write it as is, big R, big T, little t, and count how many. Don't forget the ones I drew the arrow for. So there's 4 with that combination and 4. So that's going to give me 8. Okay, so then my second, I'm going to have big R, and 2 little t's, 4 and 4, so there's 8, and it wanted the ratio, so my ratio is 8 to 8. Now for the phenotypic ratio, I've got my big R, big T, the numbers are the same, but let me jump up here to get my symbols. So I've got red and long, so the first letter of each, remember, so red and long, and so I've got 8. And then the big R, again, I know is red, and my little t is going to be short. And so with that combination, first letter of each and the first letter of each, so again I have 8. Remember, it's not always the case. You don't always have to have the ratio 8 to 8. Okay, and so that does it for our 3 problems, and I'll see you next time.